Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we try to cut through the noise and bring you the essential insights.
Glad to be here.
Now, today's exploration is, well, it's a little different. This entire deep dive into the top 5 AI news stories from today, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. We're calling it AI Daily Deep Dive. It was actually researched and generated entirely by AI.
Interesting. Using AI to analyze AI news, it's definitely a unique way to approach it.
Exactly. So our mission is pretty straightforward: to give you, the listener, a sharp, comprehensive overview of the most important AI developments today, based purely on what the AI itself pulled together.
Okay, I'm curious to see what it flagged. Where do we start?
All right, let's dive right in. First headline: Google's Gemini AI. It looks like it's heading to our vehicles.
Yes, the Google I/O announcement.
That's the one. Apparently, by the end of 2025, Gemini will be integrated into both Android Auto, the system that mirrors your phone.
Right, the projection mode.
Yeah, and also Android Automotive OS, which is the full operating system actually built into the car itself.
And that distinction's important, right? Because Gemini's going into both. The sources mentioned Patrick Brady, Google's VP for this area, really emphasizing how this will improve voice interactions in the car, more natural commands.
And the potential sounds pretty significant. The AI sources highlighted that Gemini can handle more complex stuff, like multi-part requests.
Right, like the example they gave. Text Sarah, I'm about 15 minutes away, and also play that new track by Aurora. Doing both things from one sentence.
Which is much more how people actually talk, isn't it? Less robotic.
Definitely. And that contextual understanding seems key. Finding a restaurant based on a vague description, like that Italian place we liked last year, or asking for a song by the year it won a Grammy, it's meant to be more intuitive.
It sounds like it moves closer to a genuinely helpful assistant. And it'll have memory, too, so it can remember preferences, like maybe setting navigation to work on Tuesday mornings automatically.
Yeah, and remembering things like language preferences for specific compacts. Plus, accessing other Google services, pulling up that restaurant recommendation your friend emailed you last week right from the car using voice.
Okay, that could be genuinely useful.
And it ties into controlling the car itself, adjusting the climate, seat heaters, that kind of thing, all through voice. The goal seems to be safety and convenience, reducing distractions.
Makes sense. And Patrick Brady also apparently mentioned something about how people use driving time for thinking, planning.
Right. Extending Gemini Live, the conversational AI feature, into the car, so you could, say, brainstorm recipe ideas or plan out a vacation itinerary while you're driving just by talking.
Huh. So it's really about transforming that driving time, making it more, integrated and maybe even productive.
That seems to be the vision. More seamless, more connected.
Okay, interesting. Let's move to the second big story flagged by the AI, Audible. They're planning to use AI voices for audiobooks.
Yes, Audible, part of Amazon. Big news there. They're planning AI narration and also AI-powered translation.
So how's that going to work?
Well, the AI sources outline 2 options for publishers. There's an Audible managed route, where Audible uses its own AI voices, or a self-service option where publishers can use Audible's AI tools themselves.
Okay. And they have voices ready.
Apparently over 100 AI voices to start, across English, Spanish, French, and Italian. The AI translation piece is set to come later this year.
And the reason? What's Audible saying?
Their CEO, Bob Kerrigan, framed it as expanding availability. The goal, he said, is getting every book into audio in every language. Though they also stressed they'll keep investing in original content with human narrators, too.
But I imagine this hasn't landed without some reaction.
Oh, definitely not. The AI sources picked up on immediate criticism from authors, narrators, translators, people like Joanne Harris calling storytelling code that AI can't replicate.
Right. Concerns about losing the human element.
Exactly. Narrators like Kristen Atherton talking about irreplaceable nuances, Stephen Briggs calling it a dangerous path. Concerns were also raised by Deepti Gupta about marginalizing BIPOC voices if AI becomes the default.
And translators, too, I guess. Worried about quality.
Yeah. Nicholas Smalley worried about mediocre translations. Frank Wynn brought up cost-cutting, potentially overlooking artistry, and even environmental concerns related to the computing power needed.
So what's the official industry response been like?
The Society of Authors acknowledged the potential upsides, but really stressed the need for transparency, author choice, like authors should get to decide if AI narrates their book and clear labeling so listeners know if it's AI or human.
And it's not entirely brand new for Audible, is it? Didn't the AI mention they already use it for some books?
That's right. Since 2024, they've apparently used AI voices for self-published authors in the US, resulting in something like over 60,000 audiobooks. So this is more about a wider, more mainstream rollout.
Hmm. It definitely throws that whole debate about efficiency versus human artistry into sharp relief, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Big questions about the future of narration and what listeners will accept.
Okay, story number 3 takes us into maybe a more personal realm, AI chatbot companions and mental health.
Right, the psychological side of bonding with AI, it seems these relationships can get surprisingly deep.
The AI sources mentioned a specific case, someone experiencing real loss.
Yeah, a user named Mike, whose companion app, Soulmate, shut down. It apparently caused him significant distress, highlighting just how strong these attachments can become.
And you can kind of see the appeal, I guess.
Hmm.
Highly customizable personalities, appearances, even detailed backstories.
Exactly. Some can even simulate things like anxiety or depression for role-playing purposes, which adds another layer of complexity.
But experts are raising red flags.
Yes, concerns about dependency, people potentially withdrawing from real-world relationships, and the emotional fallout if an AI companion is suddenly altered or shut down, like in Mech's case.
And the ethics of it all. Blurring reality, especially if the AI simulates, say, mental health issues or complex family backgrounds.
For sure. And the AI sources noted the lack of regulation right now. It puts the onus on users to be aware of the limitations and, well, the potential downsides.
But there's another side to it too, right? Potential benefits.
Absolutely. The counter-argument highlighted is that these AI companions can offer valuable emotional support, especially for people who might be isolated or lack access to mental health resources. They're non-judgmental, always available.
So it's a really complex picture. Technology, psychology, ethics, all tangled up.
Definitely. And it underscores the need for more research and probably some form of regulation focused on user well-being.
Okay, let's shift gears for the fourth story. This one's about staying relevant, maybe even irreplaceable, in the age of AI. It's based on Ajay Tejasvi's perspective.
Right. His angle is basically view AI not as a threat, but as an opportunity to double down on what makes us uniquely human.
And he has a term for that.
Absolute intelligence. He defines it as creativity, compassion, and consciousness, things that go beyond AI's data processing.
So how do we cultivate that?
He emphasizes inner work, things like self-awareness, emotional regulation, through practices like meditation or controlled breathing. The idea is this builds mental clarity, emotional balance, which in turn fuels empathy and creativity.
So moving away from fear towards, like, personal growth.
Exactly, a proactive mindset. Focus on developing yourself rather than worrying about being replaced.
He also mentioned leadership, didn't he?
Yes, the growing need for human leadership that's guided by strong ethical values to make sure AI is applied beneficially. His core message seems to be, focus on absolute intelligence, and you won't just survive alongside AI, you'll thrive.
It's a more empowering take, certainly.
Yeah.
Focus on what we can control.
Precisely, shifting the focus inward.
Okay, brings us to our fifth and final story for today, also dated May 13th. This one's from a Harvard Business Review study looking at generative AI's impact on productivity and motivation.
Ah, yeah, the double-edged sword idea. This study, from researchers at Zhejiang University, basically confirmed what many suspected: Gen AI boosts task performance. Professionals using it for things like drafting reviews, brainstorming ideas, writing emails, they produced higher quality work more efficiently. Collaborating with the AI led to faster, often better results.
Okay, so the productivity boost is real.
It seems so, but there's a trade-off, a hidden cost, perhaps.
Which is?
A drop in intrinsic motivation. The researchers found employees actually felt more bored and less engaged when they went back to doing similar tasks without the AI assistant.
Wow. Okay, so you get used to the help, and then doing it the old way feels like a drag.
That seems to be the gist of it. Increased efficiency, but potentially at the expense of job satisfaction or engagement for certain tasks.
That has pretty big implications for companies rolling out AI tools.
Huge. The AI sources stressed that organizations need to be smart about this. It's not just about plugging in the tech, it's about designing work processes that integrate AI in a way that supports, rather than kills, employee motivation. Finding that balance.
So thoughtful integration is key, not just wholesale replacement of tasks.
Exactly. How do you get the efficiency gains without making the work feel less meaningful or engaging for the humans involved? It's a critical question for businesses moving forward.
Definitely food for thought there.
For sure.
And that wraps up our AI-generated deep dive for today, May 13th. We covered quite a bit. Gemini getting into cars.
Audible's AI narration plans and the reactions.
Complexities around AI companions and mental well-being.
Strategies for staying human relevant with absolute intelligence.
And finally, that productivity versus motivation balancing act with generative AI in the workplace.
It really shows just how fast things are moving, doesn't it? Touching so many different parts of life seemingly all at once.
It really does. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Considering all these developments from just one day, which single aspect of AI's integration into our lives feels most potentially transformative, maybe promising, maybe concerning to you? And what big questions does it raise as we navigate this future?
Yeah, a lot to think about there.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.